Hi there, writers. Let's talk about wordiness using be verb constructions in your writing. And I'm going to have some particular examples that apply to the ad analysis paper, but these also apply to other types of papers as well. So if you've been assigned this for another type of paper, the examples still apply and the premise still applies. So be verb wordiness is one type of wordiness that we can really easily identify because it's based around particular words that we can look for. And too much be verb usage can really make our writing sort of tangly and imprecise. And I'll show you some examples of why as we go through this quick presentation. So one example of a be verb construction, and the be verbs are any form of the verb be. So am, is, was, are, and am being, are being types of things as well. So here's an example with there are and it is. So there are is a construction where the main subject and verb of the sentence is there and are. And those are two words that on their own, they don't really have any meaning. So it's a pronoun there and then a be verb are. Those aren't really vivid words. They're not really precise words. And they add wordiness that we don't really need. So usually anytime we have a there are or an it is construction, we can rephrase the sentence to eliminate those verbs. So here's the example. There are several women surrounding the man. This is something you might find like if you're describing a scene in an advertisement, for example. Instead, to be much more strong and concise, you can just say several women surround the man. So what I've done is identify what can be the actual subject of that sentence, women, and the actual verb, surround, and make those the actual subject and the verb of the sentence instead of there and are being the subject and the verb of the sentence. In the second example, it is clear that this ad is appealing to men. Again, it is the main subject and verb of the sentence. So instead, I want to think, okay, what's the actual subject of that? Well, it's the ad. Pull that forward, move it to the front. This ad appeals to men. You could say this ad clearly appeals to men. Clearly, this ad appeals to men. So we've eliminated both the it is construction and the is. So you can see here how these are wordier examples. This says the same thing, just in a more concise and precise way. Anytime we can eliminate language that doesn't add to our meaning, like words like there, are, it, is, right? Those words don't carry meaning, so they don't add to the meaning of our sentence unless they're necessary for what we want to say. Sometimes be verbs are absolutely necessary, but other times we can form a stronger construction. So here are those be verbs. Am, is, was, were, are, be, being. Especially look out for those pronoun be verb constructions. There are, there is, it was, and forms of that. Here are some other examples of empty verb constructions. My sister is loud when she is telling her children to do their homework. You can just tell that sounds a little wordy and it's a little bit tangly. Instead, my sister yells loudly when telling her children to do their homework. Just try to use the actual verbs instead of the be verb attached to the verb becomes a pronoun, right? It just becomes really tangly. The restaurant's food is excellent. So this is a grammatically correct sentence, but we just want to see if we can find a stronger verb than is. And in this case, we could say the restaurant serves excellent food. So just a little bit of a rearrange so that there's a stronger verb instead of is there. Here are some examples of be verb constructions that are actually passive voice. So sometimes looking for be verbs can tell us that we're in passive voice unnecessarily. The ball was kicked by me. So this is when the verb is not being done actively by the subject. So the person kicking the ball is actually me, right? But instead we have it arranged passively so that the thing receiving the action is out front and the verb is happening to it instead of the person doing the verb. So here's the other one. I kicked the ball. So in this one, the subject I doing the kicking and then the ball is the object. So it's just a less wordy, less tangly way to arrange the sentence, to have the subject doing the verb upon the object instead of the flippy-flop way around. The bottle is being held by a man in a suit. So again, this is something that came from an ad analysis example paper. The bottle is being held by a man in a suit. Instead, can you find the actual thing? Who is doing the holding, right? You want to ask who's doing the holding. It's not the bottle doing the holding, it's the man, right? So if we pull the man to the front of the sentence, give the man the verb, and then rearrange from there. A man in a suit holds the bottle. So we found the man doing the holding. So you can ask yourself, like here, who's doing the kicking? So I, right, me. So move that to the front. I kicked the ball instead of the opposite way around. Here are some other examples. This advertisement is extremely appealing to the type of people who long for a break from their busy everyday lives. Find the actual verb, appeal, right? Appeals. So instead, we could just say the advertisement strongly appeals to the type of people who long for a break from their busy everyday lives. The words and content of the ad is what is used by the company. I hope you can hear the wordiness there, is what is used. It's very choppy because those are all quite empty and short words, and that's where we get a sense of choppiness in the writing instead of a sense of nice flow. So in this case, we want to ask, well, who is doing the using, right? Who is doing the using? Well, it's the company. So if we can get the company out front, the company uses the words and content of the ad. That's a much stronger, much easier to understand, much more concise construction there. Here we go. There is a large man in the background. There is a large man in the background. So again, we want to eliminate there is and come up with an actual verb. So we've got a large man. We need a verb. A large man stands in the background. Or a little bit better, a large man is in the background. So we still have the is here. It can still be stronger if we choose a good verb, but this at least eliminates there is, right? That pronoun verb construction at least is only the pronoun here. But even better, we can use an active verb. A large man stands in the background. It tells us a little bit more about what he's doing back there. Is he lying in the background, standing, doing jumping jacks? It is clear the ad is focusing on the mountain. These are real constructions from real student papers, by the way, so, relevant. Here we have, it is clear the ad is focusing. So we have two. We have the pronoun be verb construction, and then we have the is ing for the verb as well of the main sentence. So we want to think, okay, what's the subject? The ad, right? The ad is doing the verb, the focusing. So we can say the ad clearly focuses on the mountain. The ad clearly focuses on the mountain. There is a long history of Black women having to use chemicals on their hair. Again, this is an example from a student paper. Instead of there is, well, you could say society has a long history, and that is already stronger. The meaning is clearer. It's a little more accurate in what it's saying. There is a direct message front and center with this Skechers advertisement. So you want to think who has the message. You could start that in the beginning. The Skechers ad has a direct message front and center. Now has is still a be verb, but we have eliminated the pronoun be verb, and this is much clearer because the subject is right out front and it's got the be verb, and that's okay. Not all be verbs are evil. The be verb can sometimes be a clue that we do have a wordy construction. You don't have to eliminate every single be verb, but you can use them to look at how you've constructed the sentence around it, because sometimes we do have passive voice, we have a wordy construction going on for other reasons. It is trying to sell the idea of being a higher class. So what is it? Let's name that, all right, and then use a stronger verb. The ad tries to sell the idea. In the background, you will notice that it is more a rough lifestyle. We have a couple things going on here. We don't need to say you will notice it because we don't want to address the reader directly. And the it is a more rough, we've got that pronoun be verb construction. The background shows a rough lifestyle. Wow, much more concise, but saying the same thing in a more accurate and concise way. So here's what I really recommend, and I don't recommend you do this for your rough draft. So I had you turn in your rough draft before this. I don't want you to go back and look for these yet. I will help you find some when I look through your rough draft, but when you get your rough draft back with comments, that's when we do this sentence level revising type of stuff. You don't need to be overly focused on this on your rough draft. The rough draft is about getting your ideas out there, getting your structure, getting your organization overall. Building those paragraphs. The language level stuff should come later. So I don't want you to get held up on this until you've got your rough draft done. And that's when we go look for this language level stuff. What I really recommend is that you open your paper up and you do, if you're on a PC, it's going to be Control F. And then that will pop up a little box in the top right. If you put in is, and then click enter, it'll show you how many times you've used is in your paper and where you've used it. And then you can you can identify, oh, is this passive voice, or do I need this be verb? Is this an it is construction? If you're on a Mac, it's going to be Command F, I think, and then that's going to pop up the box in the top right. So put in are. Are and is are the most common ones. You can also put in there are, there is, it was. You can also use this to look for you, I, me, and my, because these papers are just straight analysis papers and they don't need to reference us, the writer. They don't need to reference the reader in second person. It's all about the ad. So you can take a look for these things too using that same trick. So take a look and see if you have any of these passive voice or be verb constructions that create wordiness. And if so, see if you can revise them when you get your rough draft back, but not before then, because we don't get hung up on like language level, sentence level stuff too soon, because that can sort of stall our progress in getting the draft done. Hope this is helpful to some of you who've been getting these types of comments and who want to work on the subtleties of writing that really make the writing come across more powerfully and effectively and easier for your readers to understand as well. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck finding these. Bye.